go to the first page of your worksheet. There's going to be the beginning part of an income statement on the top, but in the middle you should see a section that looks like this. This is going to be our first step. Well, the first step was accumulating our direct expenses and revenue. We did that. So this is our second step. We're going to look at all of our indirect expenses and we're going to figure out how to allocate them. So we have three indirect expenses: rent, utilities, and advertising. And we've determined that the best way for us to allocate is to allocate rent by square feet, utilities by square feet, and advertising by sales dollars. We also know how many square feet and sales dollars each department used. So the first thing we have to do is figure out what's our denominator. What's the total amount of square feet that we are paying for? So we're going to add 3,000 plus 2,000 plus 5,000 plus 500 plus 1,000, and that's going to give us 5,000, 10,000, should give us 12,000 square feet. So we are going to allocate our total costs, which I apparently forgot to write down, but our total costs were 60,000. Let me just add those here. I'm going to erase this. Okay. So our total costs are 60,000. We're going to allocate them over 12,000 square feet. So if I take 60,000 divided by 12,000, that's going to give me a cost that I'm going to allocate to each department of $5 per square foot. Utilities is also allocated based on square feet. So we have that same 12,000 square feet. And if we allocate our utilities cost of 24,000 divided by 12,000 square feet, then we allocate at a rate of $2 per square foot used. Finally, we have our total sales. That's how we're going to allocate our advertising costs. So we're going to add up 250,000 plus 125,000. That gives us 375 plus 300 is going to be 675,000. Is our total sales cost, and when we divide that by 135,000, let me get my, it's going to end up being 20 cents per sales dollar. So we'll allocate advertising at a rate of 20 cents per sales dollar. Notice that rent and utilities are both being allocated to all of the departments, both the profit centers and our service departments, purchasing, payroll, and IT. But our advertising is only being allocated to our profit centers because we're allocating based on sales dollars, and only our profit centers have sales dollars. Purchasing, payroll, and IT have 0 sales dollars, so they will get 0% of the advertising costs. In the previous step, we calculated how we were going to allocate our indirect expenses. We determined that rent would be allocated at $5 per square foot used by each department. Utilities would be allocated at $2 per each square foot used by each department. And advertising would be allocated at 20 cents for each sales dollar generated by each department. So now we're going to go ahead and allocate those expenses. So for boots, they used 3,000 square feet at $5 a square foot is going to be $15,000. Sandals used 2,000 square feet times $5 a square foot, or $10,000. Athletic shoes used 5,000 square feet at $5 a square foot, or $25,000. Purchasing used 500 square feet at $5 a square foot, or $2,500. Payroll used 5,000 square feet at $5 a square foot, $2,500. And IT used 1,000 square feet at $5 a square foot, or $5,000. So if we add all of those up, that's 15, 25, 50, that gives us $60,000, which is exactly what our rent expense was. All right, let's do the same exercise with utilities. Boots use 3,000 square feet times $2 a square foot, or $6,000. Sandals use 2,000 square feet at $2 a square foot, or $4,000. Athletic used 5,000 square feet at $2 a square foot, or $10,000. Purchasing used 500 square feet at $2 a square foot, or $1,000. Payroll used 500 square feet at $2 a square foot, or $1,000. And IT used 1,000 square feet at $2 a square foot, or $2,000. All of our allocated costs should equal our total cost of $24,000. 6,000 plus 4,000 is 10,000, 20,000, 24,000. So we equal. Okay, finally, we're going to allocate our advertising costs. Advertising costs are allocated at 20 cents per sales dollar. So Boots had sales of 250,000 times 20 cents. Oh, I'm going to have to check my notes. It's a limit to the math I can do in my head. All right, 250,000 square feet times 20 cents a square foot, or $50,000 of advertising cost. Sandals had $125,000 in sales. They're being allocated advertising at 20 cents per sales dollar for a total of $25,000. And Athletic had $300,000 in sales times $20 a square, or $20 per sale, or 20 cents per sales dollar, and that is going to give them a total allocation of $60,000. Purchasing, payroll, and IT are cost centers. They don't have any sales dollars, so they get zero advertising costs. So we'll add these up, 50, 75, 135, and it equals. Now that we've allocated all of our indirect costs, the next step will be to allocate our service costs. But before we can do that, we have to figure out what are our total service costs to be allocated. Our purchasing department had direct labor of $49,000, so we'll allocate that for sure. But they also were allocated an additional $3,500 in indirect costs. So the total amount of purchasing to be allocated will be $52,500. Payroll had $41,500 in direct labor, and they were allocated an additional $3,500 in indirect costs. So the total amount to be allocated for payroll is going to be $45,000. And IT had $63,000 of direct labor, plus another $7,000 of indirect costs, and so the total amount to be allocated from IT will be $70,000. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and make us some room on the board, and then we're gonna allocate our service costs.